Police girl, how does it feel now that you're a vampire?
How does a young policewoman go from leading an elderly tour group
Right this way, everybody! Everyone with a Japanese tour, right this way, please!
to fighting off a fascist werewolf using vampire powers? Today, we are talking about Hellsing, the absolutely hardcore action series about a vampire who's used as a weapon to hunt down his own kind. Have I heard this premise before? Created by Kota Hirano, the Hellsing manga was first published in 1997. In 2001, the anime studio Gonzo produced a 13-episode Hellsing series. Since the manga wasn't finished at the time of production, they had to fill in a lot of blanks, and never really got a satisfying ending. In 2006, the studio Satellite thought, hey, what if we took a crack at it and created the 10-episode Hellsing Ultimate? We're actually going to start with Ultimate here, since it's the more faithful and complete adaptation. But then, we'll circle our way back to the first series to see what direction they went with the story. Just a quick heads up though. This is a hyper-violent series with a lot of blood and violence, so no kids allowed, please. I'll give you guys a few seconds. Alright, now that they're gone, let's get into it. The series begins in a dark, dank manor in England that any vampire worth their salt would approve of. A terrifying English man with a terrifying English mustache stalks the manor's halls, monologuing about his terrifying goals. He is looking for his niece, Integra Fairbrook Wingates Hellsing, who happens to be hiding just above her uncle in the manor's vents. See, young Integra was just appointed as the new headmaster of the Hellsing Organization after her father passed away. Her uncle, Richard Hellsing, really thinks his older brother should have given the position to him, hence why he's stomping around with a gun looking for a little girl. Integra remembers what her father told her on his deathbed. If she's ever in a hopeless situation, she should go open the very last cell in the manor's dungeon. Integra runs to the cell and opens it, but inside she only finds a shriveled corpse. Richard arrives right behind her and puts the gun to her head when the corpse springs into action. It licks some leftover blood off the ground and transforms from a shriveled husk into a nightmarish red-eyed vampire with a pentagram on his head.
Oh God, the corpse!
Title card drop. Next, we cut to the absolutely delicious-sounding Cheddar Village in the English countryside. 3 police officers investigate a church and find it full of people that have been turned into flesh-eating monsters. It doesn't go super well for the cops. The police force sets up a command center outside of the village, and the situation is taken over by Integra, who's now fully grown. Integra explains to the police that the people of Cheddar Village have become ghouls, and the entire village is lost. A ghoul is created when a vampire bites a human. Apparently it doesn't work on virgins though, so hell yeah, I'd do great in this universe. The ghouls are basically zombies being commanded by a vampire, so Integra says they'll have to find the vampire that caused this nightmare to stop it. The stupid police chief doesn't believe in vampires, so Integra just explains to him what the Hellsing Organization is all about. For hundreds of years, the Hellsings have been protecting England from all manner of supernatural and satanic threats. She tells the chief that he can send in all the officers that he likes, but they'll only become vampire food ghouls, or if any actually are virgins, they'll become new vampires themselves. Oh, still not so bad, I guess. Integra assures the chief that they have already sent the Hellsing Organization's top vampire hunter into Cheddar Village. There's no greater vampire expert out there, because he is a vampire himself. It's the same red-eyed man that Integra let out of his dungeon cell when she was a child. Man, other vampires must hate this guy.
How beautiful. Nights like this make me want to have a bite to drink.
Next, a young female police officer who was investigating the church flees from the village. She gets cornered by her fellow officers who've become ghouls, as well as the vampire controlling them all. He's bulletproof, super agile, and worst of all, a complete scumbag creep. He starts to grope the female officer when suddenly the red-eyed vampire appears. The evil vampire commands his ghoul army to open fire on the newcomer, but he calmly and stylishly regenerates from the hail of gunfire.
Your agent's a vampire?
Correct.
The friendly vampire pulls out his badass custom pistol with explosive silver bullets and begins wiping out all the ghouls. The evil vampire takes the female officer hostage, but the good vampire just asks her if she's a virgin. Hey, take a lady out to dinner first. When she responds that she is, the vampire fires his gun straight through her chest into the evil vampire. Okay, I take it back. This is a terrible world for virgins. Then, we jump back once more to the night Integra woke this red-eyed vampire. After slaughtering her uncle and his men, he introduces himself to Integra as a servant of the Hellsing family named Alucard. And I'm warning you now, don't even try spelling that name backwards unless you want a good spook. Back in the present, Alucard completely destroys the evil vampire by punching right through his heart. The female officer lays dying on the ground when Alucard approaches her. He says that shooting through her was the only way to hit the vampire's heart, but now she has a choice. Since she's not yet deflowered, she can become a vampire to save her own life if she wishes. She thinks about all the carnage she's seen caused by vampires, but she still chooses life and reaches her hand up towards Alucard. Suddenly, the lady cop finds herself in some kind of dream world wearing pajamas. She gets chased around by some ghouls, then bumps right into Alucard. He tells her that she's still dead either way, but now she walks the path of Draculina, which I guess is like a Lady Dracula. Cool! Police Girl then wakes up in a furnished room with Alucard and Integra. And it's not rude that I'm calling her Police Girl, because that's what everyone else is calling her. Her injury has completely healed, but she now has fangs. She can still see herself in the mirror though, so I guess that's just an offensive vampire's stereotype?
You're too loud, police girl. I don't care if you are a vampire. You're still English. Have some manners.
Integra tells the woman that she is in Hellsing Manor, the organization's headquarters. And now that she's a vampire herself, Police Girl has no choice but to work for them as a vampire hunter. She doesn't even get a single second to process this information because there's a vampire that needs hunting. Two, actually. It's a vampire couple that is excited to spend all of eternity together. Those plans go up in smoke when Alucard blasts right through their front door and wastes the male vampire. The woman flees the house, but Police Girl uses her new vampire powers to make an insane sniper shot from hundreds of meters away. Police Girl shoots the vampire right through the heart and starts to come to terms with her new dark nature. Back at Hellsing Manor, Integra is concerned about a recent rise in the number of vampire attacks. Moving on, we're jumping to Ireland, where a Catholic priest named Alexander Anderson is settling an argument between two young boys. He seems like a nice guy running an orphanage, but he also looks terrifying when he smiles. So who knows? I don't trust him. Another priest arrives, and they talk about the increased vampire activity in England. Apparently, the Catholics, backed by the Vatican, have a bit of a rivalry with the Hellsing Organization. since they've been fighting vampires for even longer than the Hellsings. Father Anderson doesn't mind letting the Hellsings take care of vampires in England. However, there was just an attack here in Ireland in a town called Badrick, and the Hellsings are on their way to deal with it. Ah, hell no. That's the Vatican's turf. Anderson says he'll take care of it, and basically implies he'll massacre any Hellsings who get in his way.
We will teach them to know their place, Anderson. They tread on Catholic land. This vampire is ours to destroy.
In Badrick, Alucard and Police Girl are clearing out a manor infested with ghouls. Alucard is having the time of his life blasting away these creeps, while Police Girl really's gotta psych herself up to pull the trigger each time. She's really starting to get the hang of this. Alucard tells Police Girl to aim for the head or the heart so these poor ghouls don't have to suffer. And her eyes begin to turn red as the carnage continues. Then, out of nowhere, Police Girl is skewered by a dozen glowing blades. Alucard recognizes them as blessed blades, and suddenly the walls are lined with Bible pages that create a magic barrier. Alucard is confronted by Father Anderson, who does not believe in using vampires as tools to hunt other vampires.
We are the servants of God and the messengers of his justice. We are the instruments of his divine wrath on earth.
Back at HQ, Integra gets a report about the Vatican sending Anderson. Apparently, he belongs to their top vampire hunting division, the Iscariot. Anderson himself has a pretty mysterious background, and the codename Paladin. Integra is worried that even Alucard might have trouble facing him alone. She immediately sets out for Badrick to provide backup. In Badrick, Police Girl is injured, but her heart wasn't pierced, so she won't die. Again. Anderson boasts that he's already eliminated the vampire that was terrorizing this town, and marches right towards Alucard. He stabs the vampire with a blessed blade, but Alucard blasts him point blank in the head with his explosive rounds. Somehow, the father gets right back up and keeps on stabbing. The two keep fighting, and Anderson keeps healing every wound he gets. He says that he is a regenerator, a living weapon created specifically to take down unholy monsters like Alucard. The priest finally gets Alucard pinned down by his blades and severs the vampire's head. Anderson's disappointed in how easily he killed the Hellsing's ultimate weapon, then starts hunting down Police Girl, who had crawled away during the fight. She painfully pulls the holy blades out of her own body and tries to escape with Alucard's head. She really misses the guy, and as scary as her new life is, it would be way scarier without her badass vampire partner mentor. Police Girl can't escape the building thanks to the Bible barrier, and Anderson soon catches up to her.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We are nothing more than dust, and to the dust we shall return.
Suddenly, Alucard's head melts in Police Girl's hands, and she hears his voice commanding her to drink his blood. Willingly drinking the blood of another vampire will complete her transformation and give her even cooler vampire powers. And we finally hear her name. So, she's no longer Police Girl. She's Ceres Victoria. Before Ceres can make a decision, Integra arrives with two guards and shoots Anderson's blades. Integra says that the Iscariot is violating an agreement they had and orders the father to withdraw. He doesn't take kindly to being ordered around, so Anderson quickly carves up Integra's bodyguards and clashes with her directly. Integra tells Anderson that he's a fool for believing decapitation would kill their ultimate weapon. The hallway is then flooded with bats, which form into Alucard. Anderson chops off Alucard's arms, but the vampire just regenerates instantly. Anderson can tell he's outmatched here, so he teleports away in a flurry of Bible pages.
We'll meet again, Hellsing. Next time.
Integra says the Vatican will pay for the death of her guards, but first, they must find who's responsible for the increase in vampire attacks. Alucard tells Ceres she's a fool for not drinking his blood, but Ceres says she just wanted to retain a bit of her humanity. A part of Alucard thinks maybe that's not such a crazy idea after all. He's still only gonna call her Police Girl though. Integra, Police Girl, and the King of Vampires all head back to HQ to prepare for their next mission. The next volume begins a long time ago, in a graveyard far, far away. Here, we've got the OG Hellsing and Integra's ancestor, Abraham Van Helsing. He's confronting his rival, the King of Vampires himself, Count Dracula. Abraham tells Dracula that his evil reign is over. In the present, Alucard wakes up. It was all a dream. Or was it?
Have I been bested, sir?
Yes, you are bested.
Then, Integra holds a meeting with a group called the Round Table Council. Basically, a group of high-ranking officials that all work together to fight monsters. Integra reveals that they've found microchips inside the vampires they've been defeating lately. So, the increase in attacks definitely isn't random. Someone is orchestrating everything from behind the scenes. In addition, ghouls are becoming stronger, and now, even virgins aren't safe from becoming ghouls. Damn it! Could this day get any worse? In the manor's basement, police girl Ceres is having trouble adjusting to her vampire lifestyle. Integra's butler Walter has replaced her comfortable bed with a coffin. As long as she refuses to drink Alucard's blood, she will continue to get weaker, and sleeping in a coffin is one way Ceres can restore her strength. Next, Alucard arrives and Walter presents him with a brand new gun. It's called the Jackal, a custom anti-freak combat pistol. Oh yeah, the silver weapons they use are called anti-freak guns, which is honestly iconic.
39 centimeters long, 16 kilograms in weight, 6 rounds per magazine. The Jackal has more firepower than any human could be expected to handle.
While Alucard gets his sleek, sexy pistol, Ceres gets an anti-freak cannon that looks like it weighs about 100 pounds. Poor police girl. Outside the mansion, two strange brothers approach the gate. One of them, Jan, has a face full of piercings and won't shut up, sharing his crazy story about a plastic surgeon. The other, Luke, is a calmer blonde man who's tired of this dumb story. They tell the guards at the gate that they're tourists whose bus broke down. With a snap of their fingers, a dozen rifle barrels stick out of their bus and gun down the guards and the gate. A platoon of soldiers in riot gear get off the bus, and the two brothers lead the charge straight into Hellsing Manor.
Let's have a little fun.
Integra and the Round Table get a report that their headquarters are under attack. And not just by any soldiers, they're armored ghouls. Jan leads his ghoul squad through the mansion, cutting a bloody path and enjoying himself way too much. Jan introduces himself and Luke to the security cameras as the Valentine brothers, and tells Integra they're coming to kill her. Downstairs, Walter comes up with a plan. Walter and Ceres will travel through the vents to reach the conference room where Integra is holed up, while Alucard starts taking out the ghouls in the halls. It sounds like Walter may be much more than a simple butler, because Alucard refers to him as the Angel of Death. Luke continues to slaughter the human guards, who really shouldn't have been put in this position. As the older of the Valentine brothers, Luke can seemingly turn invisible, or just moves so quickly that it looks like he disappeared. By the time he finds the entrance to the basement, the hallway is absolutely drenched in blood. Ceres and Walter reach the conference room, where Ceres literally falls out of the vents onto a council member's face. Walter assures Integra that these intruders are no real threat and takes Ceres to clear out the ghouls on this floor. In the basement, Luke reaches Alucard's quarters, where the king of vampires is sipping on a glass of blood.
It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Alucard. My name is Luke Valentine. I'm a really big fan of your work.
Upstairs, Walter uses his razor-sharp nanowires to dice Jan's ghouls into pieces. The matchups are set: Alucard versus Luke downstairs, and Walter versus Jan up top. More ghoul soldiers show up and fire on Walter, but this butler is a former master vampire hunter. He easily dodges all the bullets and continues dicing with his wires. More ghouls arrive with riot shields, and Ceres punches right through their ranks with her anti-freak cannon. Walter stunts on Jan by yanking out a lip piercing with his wires. Then Ceres tackles Jan to the ground. There's that police training.
I've got him, Walter! Are you alright?
Walter asks Jan who sent them, but Jan is confident the Valentine brothers haven't lost yet. He says Luke is beating Alucard to a pulp as they speak. Yeah, right. Downstairs, Luke is actually just glazing the old vampire, telling Alucard how much he looks up to him, one psycho to another. They draw their guns and blast each other's heads at the same second, then both just start laughing on the ground. I don't get the joke. Luke says he was specifically designed to beat Alucard, but if that's true, he was really poorly designed. With his new jackal pistol, Alucard blows giant holes in the stone walls as Luke dances around.
He's not even trying to dodge the bullets. Does he think he's indestructible? Everything has a breaking point.
Upstairs, Jan breaks free from Ceres' hold and unleashes a horde of Hellsing guards that have been turned into ghouls. Then, Jan books it straight for the conference room. Walter slices off one of Jan's hands as he runs, but he reaches the conference room anyways. Unfortunately for him, turns out all the council members were packing. That's what having a potty mouth gets ya. Downstairs, Luke and Alucard continue pumping lead and silver into each other, with Luke confident that his opponent's regeneration will burn out before his own. Alucard tells Luke he's impressed with his abilities, then does some real king vampire type shiz. See, as a part of Alucard's contract with the Hellsing family, he can lift restrictions to grant himself more power when he's facing an especially strong foe. With Alucard temporarily at his full power, Luke finds himself in a waking nightmare.
Now, Luke Valentine, it's time to educate you on how a real vampire does battle.
Creepy crawlies skitter all around, and Alucard transforms into a giant hellhound that chases Luke. Then, Jackal sticks out from the hound's mouth and blasts off Luke's leg. He screams in terror, having no idea that vampires could possess this much power. He shouts that Alucard is nothing but a dog for the Hellsing family, but Alucard responds that if that's true, then Luke is just dog food. Then Luke becomes, quite literally, dog food.
Such a shame I overestimated you. As a vampire, you were just a pathetic piece of shit. Now you're nothing but dog.
Back upstairs, Ceres is surrounded by the guards turned ghouls. She's forced to enter her red-eyed feral vampire mode and begins gleefully ripping the ghouls apart. Thanks for the help, Walter. Once they're nothing but a pile of gore, Integra wraps Ceres in a hug to calm her down. Next, Integra tries to interrogate Jan again. He says that whoever sent him are listening to this very conversation through the microchip inside Jan. Then, Jan triggers a failsafe that engulfs his own body in flames before they can extract any more information. The last thing Jan says before becoming a pile of ash is beware the millennium. Integra orders Walter to put the remaining ghouls out of their misery, but the butler says that as their former master, it is Integra's responsibility to finish them off. She solemnly does so and tells Walter to find out more about this mysterious Millennium group. The next day, the Hellsing Organization regroups from this attack. They took a huge hit to their numbers, but, it's not like they really lose anyone who matters. Sorry, soldier bros. Walter reports to Integra that he's found many connections to the name Millennium, including the name of a spaceship in a popular sci-fi franchise. Keep looking. Integra has a better idea what the word refers to: the Millennium Order of the Third Reich, more commonly known as the... Yeah, that's right. We're fighting vampires up in this show. Alright, look. At this point, I know that you might be wondering things like, why does Alucard work for the Hellsings? Is he really Dracula? And didn't we beat the Third Reich's sorry ass many decades ago? And the answer to all of those is, I don't know. But let's keep watching and hopefully we'll find out. After losing so many men to the Valentine brothers, the Hellsing Organization decides to hire a group of professional mercenaries called the Wild Geese. We get introduced to this merry band of killers as they help destabilize some unnamed foreign government. Sure, they're cool, but they're no immortal vampires. The Wild Geese then travel to Hellsing Manor, where Integra tells them that monsters are real and it's their job to hunt them down. They don't believe it at first, but Ceres shows off her super vampire strength, and Alucard, phasing through a wall, eliminates any doubts that they had left.
If this is supposed to be a vampire, then I'm Frankenstein's monster!
Just then, Walter arrives with a letter from the Vatican. The Iscariot Division wants to meet with Integra. It could be a trap, but it's unlikely they would be so bold as to launch an attack on Hellsing's territory. Integra and Walter head to the meeting site at the British Museum. There, they're approached by the leader of the Iscariot, Enrico Maxwell. The silver-haired Italian man makes it clear that he has zero respect for filthy Protestants like the Hellsings. Alucard doesn't like people insulting his master, so he phases through the wall and points Jackal right at Enrico. In response, Enrico calls out Father Anderson with his holy blades. What was the point of this meeting again?
Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and for thy possession the ends of the earth.
Right as Alucard and Anderson are about to come to blows, Ceres walks in between them, leading a tour group of elderly people. Old folks are the perfect way to defuse any situation. Integra and Enrico go outside to have their real meeting, and Enrico says that he has some information about the Millennium Order to share. When Germany started losing World War II, a group of loyalists fled to South America and started the Millennium Group. How does the Vatican know about this group? Because they help them every step of the way, of course. Back at the museum, a German officer known as the Major is being super creepy and talking about how excited he is for the upcoming fight against Hellsing. After this unorthodox meeting, Alucard and Walter talk about their history with the Third Reich. 50 years ago, Alucard was instrumental in destroying the regime, specifically their supernatural research division. But now it seems like that division may have survived after all. Alucard and Ceres will be deployed to South America to track down and destroy the Millennium Group.
We killed every last we found, don't you remember?
Oh yes, we did, didn't we? God, it's been ages.
Accompanying them is Wild Geese's leader, the one-eyed Pip Bernadotte. The three of them board Hellsing's private jet and head to Brazil. Alucard and Pip spend their flight in style and luxury, while Ceres is in her coffin the whole time, recovering strength. Seriously, poor police girl. When they get to their hotel, the clerk tries to tell Alucard that they don't allow coffins here, but the Vampire King hypnotizes the poor man to make him allow it. What can't this guy do? Back at the Vatican, the Pope tells Enrico that they should help clean up their own mess by taking down the Millennium Group, but Enrico suggests that they let Hellsing and Millennium wear each other down first. Next, Ceres has a very strange dream where she's visited by the spirit of her anti-freak canon. Why is this show just completely insane when it comes to Ceres? Alucard wakes her up from her coffin nap and shows her that their hotel is surrounded by police and reporters. Apparently, 2 terrorists have taken the top floor hostage, and those terrorists are Alucard and Ceres. Yeah, the Brazilian police are completely under Millennium's control, commanded by a man named Alhambra. I really don't know what they thought a SWAT team would do against Alucard, and it goes pretty much exactly how you would expect. The police fill him with bullets, but he regenerates and starts tearing them to shreds.
It takes a man in order to kill a monster.
Ceres comes out of hiding after the police have all been killed and tells Alucard that these were just innocent men being manipulated by Millennium. Alucard responds that he really doesn't care, and there seems to be something in Ceres that softens Alucard just the tiniest bit. Next, Alucard calls Integra and asks what their new orders are. She gives him the go-ahead to slaughter whoever they need to in order to reach Millennium. Damn! I mean, I want to nail these bastards too, but this is overkill. Alucard makes his way down the hotel, acting as a literal final boss horror movie villain to these poor Brazilian policemen. In the lobby, he tosses the police's corpses right out the front door and steps outside. The Major is watching all of this on security cameras, very pleased with Alucard's brutality. Alhambra steps forward and says he will be the one to take Alucard down. Alhambra throws out explosive playing cards and teleports around while Alucard fires back.
I'm here to take your unlife, Mr. Alucard. Millennium has given me the task of bringing you in.
Scores of innocent civilians are caught in the crossfire. The wild geese leader Pip blows up the police command's tent because he wanted to be helpful, I guess. Alhambra and Alucard fight their way up the side of the hotel until they reach the roof. Once again, Alucard releases the restrictions on his vampiric abilities and becomes a hellhound. Ceres provides cover fire with her cannon, and Alucard easily tears Alhambra to shreds. He then drinks the man's blood and is able to absorb his memories and knowledge of Millennium. Then, Pip arrives in a helicopter to pick up Ceres and Alucard, and in his airship, the Major is pleased with tonight's results. Alhambra may have lost, but they gained vital information on Alucard's abilities that they can use against him in the future. This war is just getting started. In Volume 4, it's a royal affair. Integra calls Alucard to tell him that the Queen of England herself, God rest her soul, has called a meeting of the Royal Table Council. Alucard, Ceres, and Pip are to report to England as soon as possible. Meanwhile, there's some infighting going on at the Millennium base. On one side, you've got the Major and his legions of undead soldiers, and on the other side are the more traditional fascists, who believe they can dominate the world without resorting to dark magic. Spoiler alert, the side with a super-powered monster army wins. The Major looks poised to take over the entire regime just for his own insane reason. He desires endless, infinite war. That's certainly one of the goals of all time.
And so I shall bring forth another. And another war, and again, and again.
In Brazil, the Hellsing team are trying to figure out how they're going to sneak their coffins out of the country as wanted criminals when Father Anderson shows up. He and Alucard immediately start going at it, so it's up to Ceres to break things up once again.
I've had enough, Anderson!
Anderson says he just came by to let them know that the Vatican has arranged a private jet for them to leave the country. For now, they're working together against a common enemy. Alucard arrives at the Round Table meeting and kneels before the Queen. She seems to have a fondness for the bloodthirsty killing machine. Then, Alucard shares what he learned when he drank Alhambra's blood. But it really isn't anything we don't already know. The Major tried to build an evil vampire army back in the 1940s. He was defeated by Alucard and Walter, and somehow he's back and ready to do it again. Suddenly, a messenger from Millennium arrives, a young boy who looks exactly like Ceres, but with cat ears? I guess they chose someone they thought would be the least threatening.
The Major sure blew that one. Whoa there! I'm just the messenger.
This messenger connects the Round Table to the Major on a video call. Integra asks the Major what his endgame is, and he tells her that they don't really have one. They just love being evil and creating war. The Major declares war on England and swears he will destroy Alucard. In response, Alucard shoots the messenger in the head, which is probably unsettling for Ceres to watch. The cat boy's name is Schrodinger, and somehow he survives getting his head blown off and returns to the Major's airship. Meanwhile, the British aircraft carrier HMS Eagle has been infiltrated by Millennium ghouls. They quickly turn the entire ship's crew into mindless ghouls, allowing a Millennium officer named Rip Van Winkle to take command. Rip carries a giant musket that somehow kills two men standing apart from each other with a single shot. She also seems completely insane, but then again, you kinda have to be in this organization. Back home, Walter asks Alucard why he chose to turn Ceres into a vampire, when he usually has no mercy for anyone. Alucard says it was her choice and that she interests him. He's confident she'll give up on her humanity soon and drink blood.
Beneath that girlish exterior lies a fascinating and complicated creature, abandoned to a town of death.
Upstairs, Integra cuts her finger and commands Ceres to drink the blood. There is no room in her army for half-assed vampires. Sarah gives in and licks Integra's finger, but it won't turn her full vamp because it was just a few drops of virgin blood. Whoa! TMI, Integra. Elsewhere, Anderson has a call with Enrico to discuss the Vatican's plans. They'll wait for Millennium to invade England, then swoop in and destroy all the vampires on both sides with a special anti-monster division. Later, Integra gets a report from the British military on the aircraft carrier's hijacking. She says that it must be the work of ghouls, and that the Hellsing Organization will take responsibility for getting it back. The Eagle is so well defended, though, that it'll basically be impossible to approach by either air or sea. A couple of jet fighters try approaching just to test it, but Rip Van Winkle blows them out of the sky with her magic musket while singing. Suddenly, Rip is hit by a wave of fear, as she can feel Alucard approaching. He's coming in fast in a goddamn stealth bomber. When did he learn to fly that?
It's the madness! I hear him! He has come for me!
Alucard nosedives his bomber straight at the aircraft carrier. Rip fires her magic bullets at it, but you already know that's not going to be enough to stop him. Alucard uses his full powers to transform the bomber into a nightmarish blood meteor, which slams into the carrier and causes an enormous explosion. Sorry, England, but I don't think you'll be getting this back in one piece. Alucard climbs out from the fiery wreckage, and Rip can only cower in fear as her ghoul army is torn to bits. She hides below deck, crying, but when Alucard finds her, she gets the courage for one last attack. Rip fires her musket and the bullet zips around, hitting Alucard again and again, until he just crushes the bullet with his teeth. Brutally, Alucard pierces Rip's heart with her own musket and sucks her blood. Of course, the Major is watching all of this, and he is loving it. He just wanted to lure Alucard away from the mainland. I'm starting to get the feeling that this guy likes war. After a literal 5-minute monologue from the Major on how much he loves war, the Millennium Airship and their 1,000 vampire soldiers arrive in Europe.
My friends, it has often been said that I like war. My friends, I like war.
Alucard is still stuck in the middle of the ocean, and vampires can't swim, I think. The next volume opens with Alucard having a dream where he's visited by the spirit of his gun named Willis. The spirit of Jackal happens to be a parody of Bruce Willis, for reasons I will never understand. When this show takes a swing at humor, they really take a swing. Next, Integra and the Round Table receive reports about the airship fleet headed straight for London. Aboard his ship, the Major tells his first lieutenant, Zorin Blitz, that she will lead the assault on Hellsing Manor when the time comes. Blitz is a severe vampire woman with tattoos on half of her face and a gigantic scythe. We've also got the mysterious mute captain up here, who's the Major's right-hand man. The Major warns Blitz not to underestimate Integra or Ceres, who may have a secret potential she doesn't even understand yet. For now, they're just gonna focus on causing as much chaos and destruction in London as possible, which, honestly, they don't even really need the vampire army for, because they start by just bombing the hell out of the city. Suddenly, armed soldiers burst into the Round Table command center. Their own guards have been turned into ghouls and converted to Millennium's side. Integra just laughs with a gun in her face. They must have forgotten that she's much more than a strategist. She is a damn Hellsing, which means she'll have her butler do all the work for her. After Walter effortlessly slices through all the ghouls, Integra warns the Round Table that their command center will soon be overrun by vampires. Every member of the council refuses to abandon their post, no matter how dangerous it is. Throughout the streets of London, things are bleak. The vampire army rampages through the burning city, slaughtering innocent civilians and creating hordes of mindless ghouls. Oh, no. Let's go! Let's go! Walter drives Integra back to the manor while she guns down monsters from the back seat. But it's only a drop in the bucket. Back at the command center, the Millennium Army has broken in, but the Round Table Council gets one last laugh by blowing up the entire building and dragging some of the monsters to hell with them. For a bunch of pencil pushers, they did pretty good. As Walter races through London, he sees a powerful enemy and brings the car to a screeching halt. He tells Integra she must find her own way back to the manor while he holds off this monster. Integra orders Walter to survive this encounter, then drives away in the opposite direction. The Major commands all his units to focus on Integra's vehicle, and they successfully force her to crash the car. Integra is now surrounded by monsters, without a butler in sight to help her. We still don't get to learn whether or not she can actually fight, because she's saved by Father Anderson of all people. He was observing this encounter with 2 other Iscariot members, but he couldn't help stepping in to save Integra. After all, he wants to be the one to take down the Hellsings, not some dumb. Anderson reveals that he has an entire army of priests with him, and they start carving a bloody path with holy blades and blessed bullets. Man, religion's hardcore.
You will be cut down like straw, trembling before my wrath. Amen!
In a post-credits scene, Alucard somehow uses his vampire powers to command the bombed-out aircraft carrier to start moving again. Just hold on, everyone. He'll get there. Eventually. Any day now. The next volume starts with a flashback to a young version of Iscariot's leader, Enrico Maxwell. He was an illegitimate child, abandoned to the orphanage that Anderson runs, raised as an Iscariot soldier. As a child, he swore that he would never need friends, and that he would get revenge on all those who abandoned him. In the present, Enrico is watching London burn, and he doesn't seem to be bothered by it one bit. He believes this is divine punishment to the heathens who aren't Catholic enough. We learn that America has been attacked by Millennium too, and the president has already been killed by vampires. Damn, no one was prepared for the surprise vampire attack. Enrico vows that tonight he will liberate England from both the monsters and the heretics. He commands a massive army of dudes with pointy white hoods. Yeah, it's not really a great look.
From the Order of Calatrava la Nueva, I pledge 118 souls unto thee.
Enrico is then informed that he's been promoted to the rank of Archbishop by the Pope, and that Alucard's aircraft carrier is on the move. He says this changes nothing, and leads his racist army into London to make everything much, much worse.
Look at them! Everyone charging into hell with a joyous heart!
Alucard is slowly and steadily making his way back to land, and he can smell war as he approaches. If anyone likes war as much as the Major, it's the King of Vampires. Meanwhile, Anderson's unit has finished dispatching the vampires that attacked Integra. The priests try to take Integra into custody, but through sheer confidence and badassery, she convinces them to instead escort her to Hellsing Manor. No fancy vampire hypnosis needed, she's just that good. Anderson mentions that he doesn't fully trust Enrico, which might have something to do with the fact that he swore revenge on the world as a child. Up in her own smaller airship, Lieutenant Blitz hits a snag in her bombing runs. Someone's sniping all of her bombs out of the air, and it's coming from Hellsing Manor. Saris is up on the roof, sporting 2 insanely big shoulder-mounted machine guns. She's on radio comms with Pip, who tells her to avenge everyone who's been killed so far in the attack.
Fire!
Saris aims her machine guns up at Blitz's airship and fires. The thing about airships, they're famously flammable. Blitz orders the crew to crash their burning ship right into the manor, but Saris knocks it off course with 2 missiles. Unfortunately, something as small as a blimp crash isn't enough to kill the vampire soldiers. They emerge from the airship's wreckage and charge towards the manor. Pip was prepared for them though, and the area is a literal minefield of bombs with silver shrapnel. Pip says they have to fight defensively, because the wild geese are completely screwed if that many vampires reach the manor. Actually, they might be screwed anyway. Blitz uses her dark vampire magic to create an enormous avatar of herself, then slices the entire mansion in half with her huge scythe. Ceres looks into the giant's eyes and has a strange out-of-body experience. Her vampire powers kick in, and she's able to recognize that the giant Blitz is just an illusion. She tries to snap all the wild geese members out of their hypnosis, but it doesn't work. Instead, she snipes Blitz from an insane distance and is able to disrupt the illusion. Still, the wild geese were distracted for long enough. The vampire soldiers reach the manor and crash in through the windows. Ceres tries her best to fight them off, but plenty of mercenaries are torn to bits. Pip says their only hope is to make one final stand here, while Ceres goes outside to do all the real work of taking down the enemy. Pip tries to steal a kiss from her for good luck, which makes all the other wild geese also want a kiss from Ceres. And guys, it's just really not the time for that. Once Ceres is gone, Pip reveals that he already knows none of the wild geese are gonna make it out alive. He just didn't want Ceres to be around to watch them all get slaughtered.
Come on, ladies. We have a date with death. Go out guns blazing, screaming.
Damn. In the post-credits, Ceres returns to the manor and finds it full of wild geese corpses. As tradition dictates, the next volume starts with another flashback. A young boy is crying to his grandfather, saying that he's being bullied at school because his family is a bunch of murderers. The grandpa says that their family has always done mercenary work, killing and dying for meager pay, but they don't do it for the money. There's another reason. The boy will understand when he's older, and that boy grew up to be Pip. In the present, Pip finally understands what his grandpa was talking about. Being a mercenary is just fun as hell for him. For the rest of the wild geese, it looks to be significantly less fun because they're being devoured one by one. Pip and some of his men are barricading themselves in the conference room, and only one guy is having an appropriate reaction to all this.
What's it matter? We're all gonna die tonight! Shut the f up! How are we supposed to fight vampires? It's bullshit!
Fair, man. Fair. Meanwhile, Ceres is sprinting through the halls, taking out as many vampires as she can. Blitz is also putting in work for the other side. She uses her hypnosis to make one mercenary see his dead daughter one last time before killing him. Honestly, that seems like a nice thing to do. Soon, the vampires reach the conference room and start unloading on Pip's barricade. Pip watches helplessly as his men are taken out by gunfire and grenades, and he gets impaled by some shrapnel himself. Right as Blitz is about to fire a rocket at the barricade, Ceres shows up with her shoulder cannons. She shreds through the remaining vampires, but runs out of ammo before she can take down Blitz. The lieutenant uses her hypnosis to try and break Ceres, showing her memories from her past. When she was just a child, two armed men broke into Ceres' home and killed her parents while she hid in the closet. Ceres ran out and stabbed one in the eye, but the other man shot her in the gut. Ceres was then forced to watch the men violate her mother's body. Good God. Back in the real world, Ceres is having a full-on panic attack from re-experiencing that nightmare, and Blitz starts to carve Ceres up with her scythe, taking off her left arm. Right as Blitz is about to decapitate the poor girl, Pip saves the day by blasting the lieutenant away with his silver bullet revolver. He grabs Ceres' body and tries to flee, but a vampire on the ground raises its gun and unloads into Pip. He continues marching forward, determined, but losing blood fast, when Blitz gets back up and stabs him in the back. Pip collapses against the wall, and Ceres drags herself over to him. In his last moments, Cerys gives Pip the kiss he wanted, and he tells her to drink his blood.
I had a damn good run, Cerys. Now suck my blood. Take me into yourself so we can win this fight.
Blitz gloats over Pip's death and gets even more confident when vampire reinforcements arrive. But she made one big mistake here, pissing off Police Girl. Cerys sucks Pip's blood and her eyes go red. She's able to break right through Blitz's illusions and becomes a vortex of carnage, almost as effective as Alucard himself. She slams Blitz into the ground, and the lieutenant tries to probe Cerys' memories again, but she can only see Pip's memories. Then, Schrodinger shows up inside Pip's memories to deliver a message to Blitz? Catboy's got some weird powers. Basically, he just tells Blitz that the Major is very disappointed in her, and that Cerys is about to crush her skull, which she does. Once all the vampires are defeated, Cerys returns to Pip's body. Only 2 members of the Wild Geese are left alive, and one is the guy who was completely terrified. Cerys says that Pip will always live on inside her, and flies out of the manor to continue avenging his death. As the next volume starts, the skies above London look to be filled with angels. But of course, it's something way nastier. It's Archbishop Enrico and his wretched army, announcing that they're going to wipe out everyone in London, living and dead, and just start over with a clean slate.
England is guilty. The heathens are guilty. You are all now sentenced to your death!
As the Iscariot army enters the fray, the Major stands atop his ship with the captain and conducts this symphony of war. An Iscariot helicopter shows up to gun down the Major, but it gets sliced to bits by the Major's loyal butler. Walter? How could he?
A plan half a century in the works! A death's head marked for the Hellsing's Angel of Death!
Integra and Anderson watch the carnage, and Anderson feels like his organization has gone way too far this time. Anderson's priest comrades realize they're probably gonna get in trouble for helping the enemy, so they tell him they need to follow orders and take Integra into custody. Anderson, though, is having second thoughts about Iscariot's mission here. Just then, Cerys arrives to protect her master. She reports on how Pip died defending the manor, and how she drank his blood. And suddenly, everyone gets an ominous feeling at once. Alucard is back, baby! Then, in a very cinematic and unstrategic moment, the Iscariot army and the vampire army face off in the center of London. Alucard, Anderson, and the captain all stand in the center. Integra orders Alucard to destroy all their enemies and gives him permission to use his full power.
Here standeth the bird of Hermes, eating mine own wings!
Alucard explodes in a burst of dark magic, and both armies open fire on him. The soldiers start getting wrecked by playing cards, and is that the magic musket? Yup. Every soul that Alucard has claimed is now his to control as a familiar. Rip Van Winkle and Alhambra are revived as undead servants, along with hundreds more of Alucard's victims. Anderson recognizes people that died hundreds of years ago, and finally makes the connection. Alucard is Dracula. Yeah, we know. Was that supposed to be a reveal?
You're a fiend, a monster, a devil! You... Dracula!
London's streets are flooding with a literal tidal wave of familiars that crushes both enemy armies. The Major is loving all this from up on his ship, cause he's a complete freak, while Enrico is starting to lose his cool. His flying Pope-mobile crashes into the ground, and Father Anderson arrives just in time to watch Enrico murdered horrifically by familiars. Damn. I mean, the guy was evil, but he never really got a chance to do anything. Oh well.
We are the soldiers of Iscariot. We are the instruments of God's wrath on earth.
Anderson orders his remaining priests to retreat back home. Anderson himself is the only one who can stand a chance against the power of Lord Dracula. Oh yeah, and Alucard has a mustache now. In the middle of the battlefield, Alucard reunites with Ceres and Integra. He pats Ceres on the head and tells her that she's done well, when Anderson arrives to face his nemesis. Alucard and Anderson begin fighting with swords, throwing blades, and guns. In his airship, the Major, still being served by Walter, says that everything is going exactly according to his plan. Anderson is slowly worn down by the endless waves of undead minions, and his left arm is torn halfway off. Still, Father refuses to go down.
You're going to defeat me, is that right? What do you think your chances are? 1 in 100? 1 in 1,000? In 10,000? A million?
Anderson's priests arrive to save him. They weren't willing to leave their friend behind. They clear the path for Anderson using bombing vests, sacrificing their lives just to give their fearless leader a chance at victory.
Go to hell! Amen.
Anderson comes face to face with Alucard once again, and pulls out his secret weapon, a holy Catholic relic called the Nail of Helena, one of the very nails used to crucify Jesus. Alucard warns Anderson that if he stabs himself with the nails, he'll become the very thing he swore to destroy, an unholy monster. But Anderson will do what it takes to defeat Alucard. He pierces his own heart with the nail, and Alucard attacks. Both men destroy each other's heads, but both are now able to regenerate. Finally, they're fighting on an even playing field. Anderson throws a holy blade right through Alucard's head, and all across London, his familiars begin to burn to ash. Whoever wins this fight is gonna be good. Volume 9 starts, and guys, we might just need to give up on London. It's effectively been transformed into hell at this point. In the show, too. Aboard the Major's airship, the Millennium officers finally realize something that should have been obvious a long time ago. Their commander is completely, utterly insane.
Zum letzten Mal wärst du im Lamm geblasen.
They try to launch a mutiny against the Major, but his loyal vampires quash their rebellion immediately. On the ground, Alucard is having flashbacks to his own origins. When he was a child, Alucard was abused by powerful men and groomed to be a soldier for the Catholic Church's holy conquests. Jeez. Did anyone have a decent childhood in this show? He led an army that slaughtered thousands, but they were ultimately defeated, and Alucard was set to be executed for his failure. Right before the axe came down on his neck, he licked blood off of the execution platform and became the vampire lord Dracula.
For your prayers, for your paradise, for your god, all were sacrificed.
In the present, Ceres shouts at Alucard to bring him back to his senses. Around them, everything has been set ablaze by Father Anderson's new unholy powers.
His whole world is burning away.
Alucard grabbed the blade that Anderson has pierced him with and starts to pull it out. He tells the priest that the only opportunity to kill him was 500 years ago. Now, nobody stands a chance against him. The truth is, deep down, Alucard craves death. He wishes someone would be strong enough to kill him, but knows that a mortal could never bring down a monster like him. Alucard grabs Anderson's heart right out of his chest and crushes it.
I have come to believe, Integra, that those frightening immortals are in fact frail, sobbing children.
Then, the Vampire King breaks down sobbing. He believed Anderson could finally be the one to kill him, but when he gave up his humanity, that chance slipped away. As Anderson crumbles to dust, he tells Alucard that he hopes they will see each other again in Hell, someday soon.
Demons do not cry. Are these the tears of a long-dead child?
After defeating his nemesis, Alucard doesn't get a single moment of rest. Walter's razor wires come flying towards him, destroying entire buildings. Well, destroying the buildings even more, that is. Integra, Ceres, and Alucard are all shocked to see that not only is Walter evil now, he's young again. Apparently, the Major was somehow able to offer Walter eternal youth in exchange for his allegiance.
The dead are nothing but refuse, and there is no need for anyone to mourn filth. Isn't that right, Integra?
Anderson's priests are the first to spring into action, but they're instantly cut down by Walter, as well as the captain, who's there with a very long-barreled pistol. Then we jump to a secret English command center. The officers there say that the Hellsings are their last hope, and that if they fall, they'll have to nuke London entirely. They also speculate that Walter may have been a traitor for decades. They think he was the one who manipulated Integra's uncle into trying to kill her, all so that Integra would free Alucard from his cell. What is this damn butler's endgame?
What's London looking like? Same as it was, total chaos. Our last official field report was from Sir Penwood, if you can believe it.
Back in the action, Walter demands that Alucard fight him. Alucard says that he and Walter are both dogs for their masters, and will only act if Integra commands it. She hesitates to hurt the butler who's served her entire life, but ultimately, Integra orders Alucard to destroy Walter. He's no longer a friendly butler. He has now truly become the Angel of Death. Integra says she doesn't even care why Walter betrayed them. If he's an enemy of England, he must die. Before their fight can even start, the Major lands his airship directly in front of Integra. The doors open, and Schrödinger invites Integra on board for a final confrontation with the Major. Alucard tells Ceres to go with their master while he takes care of Walter.
Farewell, Walter. Farewell, and may we never meet again.
Alucard and Walter charge at each other, and the Vampire Lord is impressed at Walter's speed with his youth restored. Alucard tries everything, even his monstrous hellhound form, but Walter just slices that down the middle with his wires. Incredibly, with the hound dead, Luke Valentine crawls out from inside it, still alive. Walter uses his wires to control Luke as a puppet, forcing him to shoot Alucard. Walter's doing well, but his body is starting to give out. It turns out that undergoing experimental youth-restoring procedures from insane scientists isn't always a great idea. Walter recognizes he will die soon, but hopes that he can take Alucard down before he does. The butler severs all of Alucard's limbs and pierces the vampire's heart with a metal pipe. Walter immediately realizes this was an illusion. He actually just stabbed Luke. Alucard stands over Walter, ready to finish things. But he doesn't need to. Walter is starting to become younger and younger, and is now a teenaged butler. Alucard feels sympathy for this transformation, so he takes on his own teenage girl form? What? As the final volume begins, the teenage butler faces off with the teenage vampire queen. Inside the airship, Integra marches towards the Major, with Ceres protecting her from the vampire soldiers. Soon, they find the mute captain blocking their path. Instead of attacking, though, the captain literally points Integra in the direction of the Major. Oh, hey, thanks, man. I get the feeling that the captain just wanted to have an intense final showdown of his own with Ceres. The captain and Ceres start shooting at each other, and the captain reveals his true form. He's a god-dang werewolf. Outside, Alucard tells Walter that he has no respect for a traitor, so he'll finish this fight quickly. Then, the Vampire King begins to absorb the blood from every corpse in London. Safe to say, it's a lot of blood.
You know, this much blood might even be too much for me.
In his command center, the Major says that everything is still going exactly as he planned. See, 50 years ago, when the Third Reich fell, the Major was gunned down and left for dead by Russian soldiers. He had the opportunity to save his own life by becoming a vampire, but he rejected that dark magic and instead turned to science to survive. His true goal, aside from the endless war, is to be the mortal who brings down the ultimate monster. He wants to become the pinnacle of human strength and ingenuity. And how will he do that? The rivers of blood that Alucard is about to drink are gonna be poisoned. That's pretty smart, actually.
How do our arsenals compare? He can change form, summon familiars, bend men to his will.
Elsewhere in the ship, Ceres desperately tries to evade the captain, who's now become an enormous silver wolf. Right when she thinks she's beaten, Ceres hears the voice of Pip in her head. When he said that a part of him would always be inside her, he meant that literally. Encouraged by Pip, Ceres gets back to her feet and keeps fighting. The battle brings them to a room in the airship filled with treasure stolen from England. Ceres finds a silver tooth and thinks that the captain must have brought her here on purpose. He too wants to die. Ceres bites down on the captain to hold him in place, then summons Pip as a familiar. Pip punches the silver tooth straight into the captain's heart, granting him his death wish. Meanwhile, Integra finally reaches the Major's command center. She fires her gun at him immediately, but he's safe behind bulletproof glass. He turns on video screens and forces Integra to watch as Alucard drinks the tainted blood. Outside, Schrödinger slits his own throat and his body falls into the river of blood, poisoning it. Because that's one of his Catboy powers, I guess. The sun begins to rise, and Alucard is stunned by its beauty. He realizes the sunrise was also the last thing he saw before his execution 500 years ago, and the last thing he saw before he was defeated by Abraham Van Helsing. Every time he dies, he sees the sun rise, and he can't believe how incredible it is. The Major explains that Schrödinger possessed the power of Schrödinger's cat, meaning that he was always everywhere and nowhere at the same time. By absorbing him, Alucard took that same power, but can't control it. He's essentially in limbo now, neither alive nor dead. Alucard is finally defeated by a mortal, and he vanishes in the sunlight. No.
By drinking Schrodinger's blood, Alucard has become the paradoxical cat. He is now shackled by infinite possibility.
While Ceres arrives to give Integra backup against the Major, outside, young Walter gloats over having defeated Alucard. Or, having been there when Alucard was defeated. The last remaining Iscariot priest snipes Walter, cutting his celebration short, but Walter manages to escape and limps away, losing blood fast. He believes the Major will be able to help him if he can reach him in time. On the ship, Ceres tries using her anti-freak cannons on the Major, but it still can't break the glass. So she punches through the ground and rips out an 88mm cannon from the airship itself, which is finally able to destroy the Major's barrier and tear half of his body off. When the dust clears, it's revealed that the Major is a cyborg. Integra calls him a monster, but the Major says that Alucard was the only real monster. The Major is only a peak human. He and Integra both draw their pistols and fire. The Major grazes Integra's eye, but she hits him square in the head and puts the evil scumbag down. For good this time. Next, Walter reaches the Millennium's secret lab inside the exploding airship. Instead of demanding the doctor repair him, Walter decides to burn the whole thing to the ground. In a very late-stage lore drop, Walter reveals that the source of all the Millennium's experiments was the body of a woman named Mina Harker. Mina was a woman Dracula loved, and that love turned out to be his weakness. Dracula turned Mina into a vampire, but she betrayed him and helped Abraham defeat him long ago. Not sure what the point of revealing all this now is. I mean, are they planning a prequel series or something? Anyway, the airship explodes, taking Walter and the remnants of the Millennium Order with it. "30 years go by. Integra has aged gracefully and is still serving as the commander of the Hellsing Organization. It looks like relations with the Vatican have improved, because while they still hate each other, they aren't trying to actively kill each other anymore. Ceres looks the same as ever and has only grown more powerful. Even after all this time, Integra is still confident that one day Alucard will return. Deep in the dungeon beneath Hellsing Manor, Alucard's coffin starts to move. He appears in Integra's bedroom and tries to bite her as a classic vampire prank. Apparently, he had to individually absorb the souls of the over 3 million people whose blood he drank that night. Plus, he's still getting a handle on his Schrödinger powers, which means he's still everywhere and nowhere all at once. Yeah, that part doesn't really make an ounce of sense, but it's good to have him back, I guess. Integra gives her loyal servant just a little bit of blood as a treat. So, that's the end of Hellsing Ultimate. Now, remember when I said it seemed like they were setting up a prequel series? Well, they did make that series. Only, instead of it being how Dracula was defeated by Abraham and became a loyal Hellsing servant, it's about Alucard and Walter fighting the in World War II. And it's only about 30 minutes long total, but hey, this is the whole story of Hellsing, innit? Let's dive in. At the peak of World War II, an Allied plane carries a young Walter and Alucard to occupied Poland. Then, we see the round table meeting where this crazy idea was proposed. Integra's father, Arthur Hellsing, was still in charge at this time, and it was the first time the existence of supernatural monsters was revealed to government officials. At first, the council thought Arthur was crazy for wanting to send a vampire to fight the war, but when they learned the Germans were experimenting with ghouls as well, they gave in to this idea. Walter was only a child, but he was the Hellsing Organization's top expert on the supernatural, and the only one Arthur trusted to chaperone Alucard.
1が2、2が4、4が8、8が16、32が64、64が128。
In their plane, Walter grabs Alucard's coffin and dives right into enemy territory without a parachute. In part 2, the Major is enjoying a nice steak dinner while getting an update on the ghoul research from his head scientist. The experiments are coming along nicely, and they've been able to use the body of Mina Harker to create more and more vampires. Suddenly, Walter flies in through the window to crash the party.
家人の気球をお救いするは執事たる者のお務めゆ。これよりあんたらを地獄に送る。
The Major acts super nonchalant and just keeps eating his steak. When Walter throws a knife at him, the captain catches it, and soon, Walter's surrounded by soldiers. Walter effortlessly dices them all up, and the Major invites him to join their evil organization. Walter rejects the offer, and the Major orders the captain to take care of this intruder. In the last part, we see Arthur back at the Hellsing Manor enjoying a drink. His room is a complete mess because his butler is a little busy slaughtering Axis soldiers. He's also drinking a lot and inviting professional escorts to the manor, so I'm starting to think that Integra's uncle wasn't all that crazy for believing he should be the Hellsing in charge. Back in Warsaw, Walter and the captain seem to be evenly matched. Eventually, the captain pins Walter to the ground and starts choking him out, but all the blood that's been spilled flows into Alucard's coffin and awakens him. He emerges in his teen girl form and forces the captain back with gunfire. And that's it. That's the entire prequel series. The prequel manga was put on hold after just a few chapters, so this is all we get. We learned almost nothing. But it's always fun to see Alucard as a teenage girl for no reason, isn't it? Let's move on. Now that we've covered the more comprehensive adaptation, let's go back and see how the original anime handled everything. It's going to feel very familiar, yet completely different at the same time. The 2001 series begins with Alucard arriving at a house in London to take care of some business. A man in a suit brings a woman back to his house, telling her how delicious she looks. They find Alucard waiting for them in the darkness. Only the creepy man isn't Alucard's target, the woman is.
The Hellsing Organization.
What do you mean?
Alucard takes the lady vampire down with one bullet and vanishes. After that sweet intro, Integra gets a report about a vampire attack in Cheddar Village, and she says she's already dispatched Alucard to take care of it. The Cheddar Village incident goes down very similar to Ultimate. Ceres Victoria is a young police recruit who finds herself in way over her head when her comrades have turned into ghouls. Right as she's about to shoot a ghoul herself, Alucard shows up and punches through the monster's heart. Ceres shoots Alucard, but he quickly regenerates and she runs away in fear.
Beautiful night, isn't it, police girl? It's especially beautiful, of course, if you're a bloodsucker.
Ceres takes refuge in a church, but the priest inside turns out to be the vampire behind this attack. The priest uses hypnosis on Ceres and is about to drink her tasty virgin blood when Alucard shows up. The Vampire King is blown to bits by policemen turned ghouls, but he just pulls himself back together. The priest takes Ceres hostage, and Alucard announces he's gonna shoot right through Police Girl to kill the vampire. However, in this version, he asks Ceres if she wants to become a vampire before he even shoots her. How considerate.
I'm going to fire my gun now, and the bullet will rip through your lungs before it hits the maggot vampire's heart.
But wait a minute!
Cerys accepts the offer, and Alucard fires his explosive silver bullet. Alucard then drinks some of Cerys' blood, converting her. He brings Cerys back to Integra and tells his master that Police Girl will be joining their ranks. So far, it's not so different from Ultimate, but trust me that we're going to be diverging from that storyline very soon. Hell, there aren't even any in this one. On a cold and rainy night in London, Cerys sets up her sniper rifle on a rooftop. A commanding officer from the Hellsing Organization named Peter Farguson tells her not to use the scope, as she won't need it with her new powers. Down below, a blonde woman and her boyfriend are attacked by ghouls. Cerys can't bring herself to pull the trigger, and Farguson orders another soldier named Gareth to take the shot instead.
Some say that failure in your first battle is a sign you'll live longer. But I suppose you'll live as long as you like, or at least till you're sick of it anyway.
After the operation, Farguson expresses his disappointment in Cerys for being too delicate, and Walter arrives to bring Cerys back to the manor. Heads up, this is a completely different Walter, so don't just go assuming he's secretly evil. Although he definitely could be. Next, Walter shows Cerys to her bedroom, or rather, coffin room, in the basement of Hellsing Manor. Cerys finds that she's unable to sleep at night as a vampire, and starts wandering the manor's halls. Integra doesn't seem to trust Cerys yet, and tells Alucard not to make a habit out of bringing in strays. Cerys is refusing to drink blood to try and retain her humanity, while Integra reads a case file about 2 biker vampires on a killing spree. This young couple, Leif and Jessica, reveal that someone has promised them greater power in exchange for doing these random murders. Then, they make love among the pile of corpses they've created, which is as disrespectful as it is unsanitary. Cerys is practicing with Gareth and the other Hellsing soldiers at the shooting range, when they learn that Leif and Jessica have been spotted nearby. They close down all the nearby roads, and Cerys sets up her rifle again. Alucard stands in the middle of the road and knocks the couple off their motorcycle with one shot. Then, he melts Leif with an exploding bullet and leaves the fleeing Jessica to Cerys. Police Girl hesitates to shoot someone who just looks like a frightened girl, but she does it anyways. Farguson congratulates her on becoming a full-fledged member of the Hellsing Organization, and Alucard tells Cerys she'll have to drink blood sooner or later. Episode 3 starts in a private Catholic school, where a young vampire student named Enrico Stivaletti sits on a bed next to a dead boy. Enrico apologizes to the boy, Mick, who was his lover, for killing him by drinking too much of his blood. Enrico says all he wanted was for them to both be vampires so they could be together for all eternity. But he got a little too excited and ended up draining Mick dry. Just then, a group of priests and students burst into the room, horrified by the scene in front of him. Okay, so this is definitely a very different Enrico. Then, we see Father Anderson stepping off a train in London. Ooh.
I'm sorry. Welcome to London, Father.
Go with God, my child.
Next, Integra oversees the autopsy of Enrico's body. I guess the priests killed him, presumably due to him being a vampire. Enrico was the son of a powerful family in Italy, so the London chief of police tells Integra they have to keep this whole affair quiet. Inside Enrico's body, they find a microchip called a freak chip, confirming that there's a mastermind behind all these recent vampire attacks. Next, Cerys gets home after her latest mission. She pours herself a tasty bowl of blood soup and then flushes it down the toilet because she still can't bring herself to drink it. Man, what a waste. Then, deep in a morgue, Enrico somehow comes back to life. Or undeath. You know what I mean. He's confused and believes that his lover is still out there somewhere. So he starts tearing through the hospital, killing doctors and guards. Integra is currently dealing with something else involving the Iscariot Organization when she learns about Enrico's rampage. She orders Ferguson and his troops, as well as Alucard, to go deal with it. When they get there, Ceres uses her heightened senses to see Enrico prowling the halls, calling out for Mick. The hospital is filled with officers that Enrico has turned into ghouls, and this time, Ceres doesn't hesitate to gun them down. Suddenly, her comrade Gareth is impaled in the back with a dagger. Father Anderson has arrived, and he hates the Hellsing Organization just as much as ever. He hits Ceres with another dagger and says that taking care of Enrico is Iscariot's responsibility.
Poor Enrico Stivoletti's soul is lost, but his mortal remains will at last find peace at the hands of this most sacred blade.
Before he can finish the job, Alucard shows up and punches through Enrico's heart, turning him to dust. Anderson and Alucard recognize that they're both the secret weapons of their respective organizations and launch towards each other to see who's stronger. They appear to be evenly matched, with Anderson showing off his own insane regenerative abilities. Just then, Integra arrives and tells Anderson that since Enrico is dead, the Vatican no longer has any jurisdiction here. The father reluctantly makes a retreat, but Alucard can't wait to face him again.
Your business has been concluded.
Well, that's funny. I thought my business was killing vampires.
Alucard commands Ceres to drink his blood again, but again, she refuses. Come on, police girl. We all know you're gonna give in eventually. Episode 4 is the first fully original episode of the 2001 series. There's a video of Gareth's death going viral online, and Integra wants to know who posted it.
But I called you down here because this film has a very special guest star. The Hellsing coat of arms.
Then, Ferguson's unit is sent on another ghoul extermination mission. There's a new guy named Captain Stedler to replace Gareth, and he is way too forward with Ceres. Police girl still won't drink blood, but now she has no problem executing humans who've been bitten before they can become ghouls. She's losing her humanity. Integra learns that this operation is being streamed live on television, and orders Ferguson to find out who the mole is in their unit. It's kind of a big problem, because unless they reveal the existence of the vampires, it looks like the military's just killing civilians for no reason.
We can't let ourselves be revealed on national television. This is a nightmare.
I've just been informed the station has been ordered to cease the broadcast.
Ceres corners the mole in the basement, and learns that it's just some guy. An online activist nicknamed Flash, who insists that he's working alone and just wanted to show the truth to the world. Meanwhile, a news reporter is being told by her boss that she never should have reported on the livestream in the first place, because suggesting vampires are real made them look crazy. But this reporter knows vampires are real. She's the blonde woman that Gareth saved from one in episode 2. Afterwards, Ceres goes back to the building where they caught Flash, cause something isn't sitting right with her. How did Flash know where to set up cameras to catch the mission? How did he know there was even a mission at all?
It seems you have me at a bit of a disadvantage.
Look, miss, your lot handles infiltration and we handle investigation.
She then goes to a bar, where she sees Captain Stedler meeting with the blonde reporter. Saris follows them, and they bring her right to a building where they were going to livestream another vampire murder. Stedler was the mole all along, working with this reporter to expose the truth about vampires. It's actually sorta noble in their intentions, but rules are rules. Stedler is arrested, and Integra orders Alucard to drain the reporter's blood to keep her quiet. Damn! Saris is horrified, but she just stands there and watches, getting super thirsty.
I've been hungry for so very long, but you are going to help me change that.
Saris runs straight home and slurps down a bowl of blood. I knew she couldn't resist it for long. Episode 5 opens in a funky club owned by our old friends, the Valentine brothers. It's the kind of freaky club where the waitresses wear swimsuits and gas masks, and are all vampires. A man approaches Luke Valentine and tells him he heard the brothers can turn people into vampires. Luke pulls a gun on the man, saying this town doesn't need any more vampires. But he backs down when the man says he was sent by someone named Britz. No, not Blitz. This is a completely different person.
You know, we get a lot of riffraff trying to break into our scene, wanting to become vampires so they can escape their sad little lives.
Britz was just arrested last week, so the brothers are worried that their cover might be blown, and that the Hellsing Organization will learn about their vampire nightclub soon. They decide to act first and call in an anonymous vampire sighting to the Hellsings to lure them in. Saris and her unit arrive at the warehouse where the vampires were reportedly seen, but they only find a single vampire waitress inside. Saris can smell a bomb and yells at the unit to get out of there. She manages to evacuate everyone right before the building explodes.
It took us too long to recognize the booby trap. We still managed to evacuate everyone. I'm very sorry, Mom.
Integra swears revenge on whoever thought they could trick the Hellsings. Next, Integra has a round-table meeting at the manor, where the other council members express disappointment in how sloppy Integra has been in letting information get leaked. Just then, the Valentine brothers arrive for their assault on the manor. They pull their stranded tourist routine and drive a bus full of armored ghouls right through the front gates. Jan makes his way to the security room and shoots Farguson. Integra hears this over the radio and swears revenge. Double revenge now. We can go through episode 6 pretty quickly, because it plays out the exact same as it did in Ultimate. The Valentine brothers rampage through the manor until it comes down to Luke fighting Alucard in the basement and Jan fighting Walter and Saris upstairs. Farguson manages to survive thanks to Saris saving him at the last moment, and the brothers are ultimately defeated. Episode 7 starts with Integra being forced to execute all of her men who were turned into ghouls during the attack. Integra starts with an investigation into whoever the Valentines were working for. Before long, she gets an invitation from Iscariot asking her to meet them at the British National Gallery. There, she meets Enrico Maxwell. 2 Enricos in one show? What are the odds? Integra is pissed because Iscariot killed her boy Gareth, and Iscariot is just generally petty jerks, so negotiations break down quick.
I'm here to offer my condolences to you and your organization. 135 dead in the line of duty, and 24 injured, correct?
Alucard arrives and points a gun right at Enrico. Before he can pull the trigger, Enrico tells Integra that she may be about to lose what's left of her organization. See, this whole time, Saris and her unit have been tracking down a vampire, but it's actually a trap set by Anderson. Saris believes she has her target cornered inside a train car, but when she looks inside, she finds Anderson surrounded by holy blades and Bible pages. Anderson starts taking out Hellsing soldiers, but Alucard arrives just in time to save Ceres from the same fate.
How about a duel to the death, oh Judas Priest?
It's about time.
Alucard and Anderson start dueling across the train, but soon, Anderson is able to decapitate the Vampire King. He throws Alucard's head to Ceres to taunt her, but she dives out of the train window to try and escape. Anderson gives chase, but Alucard just regenerates out of a swarm of bats and shoots off Anderson's arms. The duel ends with another retreat from Anderson, and Alucard telling him he can't wait to play again soon. Back at the museum, Integra tells Enrico that his plan failed, and that he needs to get the hell out of England.
Her Majesty's Right Honourable Hellsing Organization will never yield to anyone, grinding to dust any obstacles in our way.
You tell him. From this point on, the show is almost entirely original material not from the manga, so strap in. Naturally, episode 8 starts with a huge shootout in Hong Kong. The police have found the factory where the freak chips are produced, so they storm the building. Somebody unseen behind a curtain starts firing at the police, and they throw a grenade in response. What does this have to do with vampires? Back in England, Integra and Ferguson are training new recruits to replace the men they've lost. These recruits include elite agents from highly respected intelligence organizations all across the globe.
There are 74 candidates up for membership. The times being what they are, we've extended offers to foreign specialists with good references, as well as the usual D11 and SAS crowd.
But you know, they're probably just gonna end up as vampire food. Walter arrives to tell Integra about the freak chip factory, but unfortunately all evidence was destroyed in the shootout. Next, Ceres shuts up some cocky recruits with her crazy vampire strength. Then, Integra has a meeting to discuss the freak chips. Apparently, these chips can give people artificial vampire powers without needing to drink blood. Their top theory is that the chip activates a dormant freak gene that is inside every human. That would explain a lot, actually. Integra says that none of this changes their mission, which is to find the people behind the chips and destroy them.
The enemy sacrificed the chip designer's life, all because they feared that any physical evidence would eventually lead us to them. Therefore, the enemy is human.
Next, we see Ceres at home, looking fondly at a picture of her policeman father. There's a knock on her door from an older MI5 agent named Henry Anders. He is an old friend of her father's, and when he learned that Ceres was a vampire cop, he decided to come ask her for help on an investigation. Harry brings Ceres to meet a vampire named Helena. She looks like a small child, but has been alive for hundreds of years, and is a neutral, non-murdery type of vampire. Helena tells Ceres that the Hellsing family has killed a bunch of her friends in the last few hundred years, but she's not too mad about it. Harry asks Helena to help them track down the producer of the freak chips, since any legitimate vampire should be insulted by the very idea of artificial ones. Helena isn't very helpful, but she does assure them that if any chips were being produced here in England, she would know about it.
However, I will be willing to entertain your subject on the condition that you will allow me to return to my solitude.
Harry drives Ceres home and kinda hits on her a little bit, which is pretty creepy. But 3 seconds after he drops Ceres off, Harry's car explodes. Damn! It was a little weird, but I didn't think he deserved to die for it. Back at Hellsing Manor, Integra suddenly finds herself in the middle of a waking nightmare. She's tied up and surrounded by armed men when she realizes this is all an illusion Alucard is showing her. She demands to know what Alucard is doing, and he responds that he wanted Integra to experience what it feels like to be hunted for once. He says that he can sense their true enemy just arrived in England, and it's the first opponent Alucard has faced who can truly challenge him.
A real enemy, a strong enemy, has finally come to our tiny little island.
The true undead.
And it is this bald dude with a lot of piercings. Hell yeah. Episode 9 begins with the Hellsing Organization assaulting a castle in the middle of nowhere, Ireland. Integra doesn't really give a reason for storming this castle, other than it's the perfect hideout for a fake vampire. Good enough for me, let's go. As soon as they get inside, Ceres spots a dead body in the darkness, but then they get the order to withdraw. The military tells Integra that they got a tip this castle is storing weapons for the Irish Republican Army. So now, it's their jurisdiction. That's pretty sus.
There is a high possibility that some of the most wanted terrorists in this country are still hiding inside, even if they have become something inhuman. That doesn't mean that guilt as terrorists has suddenly been erased.
Ceres retreats, but has a brief encounter with a soldier named Paul, who's entering the castle in her place. When Integra gets home, she gets a visit from her little sister Laura. Ceres is completely exhausted after this last mission, but she senses something is strange about Laura. Back at the castle, the soldiers stationed here are invaded by spindly, parasitic creatures and turned into horrifying monsters. So, probably the best that Hellsing didn't stay there. That night, Integra has an insane, abstract dream. And elsewhere, Alucard has tracked down this legendary vampire foe of his. He enters some dark catacombs and tells the mysterious villain that they aren't so different, as they're both tools of humans. At the manor, Integra wakes up and realizes she's paralyzed. She also realizes, wait a minute, I don't have a younger sister. Laura shows up and starts to eat Integra while she sits there, frozen.
God damn it. I don't have a sister.
Ceres senses something is wrong and runs upstairs, but Walter tells her she cannot disturb Integra and blocks the path. I don't know if he's evil or just following orders. Next, Alucard comes face to face with this other legendary vampire. The man introduces himself as Incognito, but Alucard just draws Jackal instead of talking more. Meanwhile, Integra realizes the creature in front of her is a banshee with telepathic abilities. She altered Integra and Walter's memories and is controlling Walter to prevent Ceres from helping. The Banshee's family was wiped out by the Hellsings generations ago, and now she's here for revenge. In the catacombs, Incognito pulls out an insanely big grenade launcher and then taunts Alucard by telling him his master is about to die.
Sorcery from the Dark Continent? Perfect. Let's begin.
Just as the Banshee is about to drain the last of Integra's blood, Alucard teleports back and shoots the Banshee. He chose his master over his legendary battle. Integra then stabs herself in the neck to purge the tainted blood and prevent herself from becoming a ghoul. But will she survive? In the next episode, Ceres and Alucard watch as Integra undergoes a critical surgery. While they attempt to save her life, we get a flashback from Integra's childhood. In this version, her father seems to be a genuinely good, honorable man. He explained to young Integra why their family's mission is so important, as they protect all of England from unholy creatures. When Arthur got sick, he told Integra she would be the one to succeed him. He asked his brother Richard to support Integra as the organization's leader, and Richard seemed to agree. But as soon as Arthur died, Richard ordered his men to find and kill Integra.
I will not have the organization stolen from me by that rat! So why haven't you found Integra yet?
Integra escaped into the vents and remembered how her father told her to open the last cell in the dungeon if she was ever in danger. The rest, of course, is history. Alucard licked a drop of Integra's blood, swore loyalty to her, and killed her uncle. In the present, Walter prepares Integra's afternoon tea. He has absolute confidence that she will survive the surgery and recover quickly. Compared to everything she's asked her soldiers to do, stabbing her own throat is nothing.
A commander with an indomitable spirit can make a soldier's heart burn like fire.
Integra does survive, because, come on, she's the original girl boss. Then, in a cave somewhere, Incognito goes Super Saiyan while holding a massive Gatling gun? Who is this guy? He summons a bunch of huge crystals from the earth, then shoots the crystals to free terrifying monsters within. It's the soldiers who were turned into monsters back at the Irish castle. This is where they've been hibernating, maturing into even nastier creatures. Incognito has his army now, and he's coming for Alucard. But who is he working for? In episode 11, Integra is bound to a wheelchair as she recovers from surgery. Walter reports to her that a girls' school in England was attracted by freak vampires, who were looking for virgin blood to boost their own powers. Eyewitness reports confirm that this group of vampires was the same group of soldiers that went into that Irish castle. We are going to call them the Freak Squad from now on to make things simpler. Ceres is having nightmares and hallucinations about the soldiers from Freak Squad, specifically Paul, feeling like it's partially her fault for letting them enter the castle instead of her.
You and I are the same, Ceres. We're both the same.
Farguson shows up and tells Ceres that she's being reassigned to an information gathering division, because some of the soldiers don't like having a vampire on their team. Oh well, frickin' screw you then! Next, Integra visits Alucard in his room, and he asks his master if she's ever considered becoming a vampire herself to gain strength. Integra ignores the question, and tells Alucard she's going to be meeting with the Queen for a special ceremony. As added protection, they leak the information that the ceremony will be held at the Tower of London, but in reality, it will be at Hellsing Manor. Then, Ceres pays a visit to the little vampire Helena. She just wants a fellow vampire to talk to about her guild, but she senses something strange inside Helena's home and kicks in the door. Back at the manor, Integra learns from Farguson that her plan worked. The Freak Squad attacked the Tower of London and are in a vulnerable position for an ambush. In Helena's house, Ceres finds herself face to face with Incognito. All that remains of Helena is a bloody shoe, much to Ceres's horror. She fills the monster with bullets, but they do nothing. Incognito asks Ceres if she regrets becoming a monster and pulls out his grenade launcher. Suddenly, Helena's ghost appears right behind them. It seems that part of her is still alive and trying to escape from inside Incognito's stomach. A writhing mass bulges out from Incognito's tummy, but he just cuts the mass off and leaves the house while laughing evilly. Ceres finds Helena's head inside the mass, but the girl says she's dying. Fortunately, as an immortal being, her soul will always be around. Cool! Helena warns Ceres that her comrades are walking into a trap, and makes Ceres promise she will destroy Incognito. Farguson orders his men to assault the Tower of London while the Freak Squad is inside, but someone on the Round Table has betrayed them. The government declares that the Freak Squad are just innocent soldiers, and the Hellsing Organization is a bunch of armed terrorists. Aw, man. In episode 12, the Hellsing soldiers storm the Tower of London, unaware that the whole tower is rigged with booby traps, and their country has already abandoned them. Cerys rushes to warn them, but the soldiers are slaughtered while being slandered by the media. Alucard and Cerys arrive at the same time to help out, but Cerys is tragically forced to watch as Farguson is gunned down by his own nation's military. Silently, Cerys grabs her anti-freak cannon and battle uniform and runs into the tower. The English police arrive at the Hellsing Manor to arrest Integra for leading a terrorist organization, but she tells Walter to not use force against the police. Cerys and Alucard are putting in work against the Freak Squad, but Alucard gets tired of fighting minions and heads inside the main tower, where he knows Incognito is waiting. Cerys is confronted by Paul, who tries to force himself on Cerys and tells her she's just a tool. She headbutts him to get him off, and the two start fighting. At the manor, the police tell Integra that the crown actually still stands with the Hellsing Organization, and they will find the traitor from the Round Table together. Well, that's a relief. Finally, Alucard and Incognito face off, with no distractions this time. While the two start shooting at each other, Paul takes on his true monstrous form. Integra is tired of sitting back and letting people fight for her, so she and Walter hop in a helicopter and head for the tower. Then, Cerys beats Paul by shoving an anti-freak round from her cannon right into his mouth and detonating it. Take that! And inside, Alucard has defeated Incognito. Oh, well, that one was anticlimactic. Alucard asks Incognito who his master is. Laying on the ground with one arm blown off, Incognito just starts laughing. He tells Alucard that he's used his vampire powers to delete all the bullets in the area, which is one of his powers, apparently. Cerys arrives with more bullets for Alucard just then, but Incognito fires a psychic blade at her. As the final episode starts, Police Girl is bleeding heavily. Alucard uses the Force to pull Cerys' clip into his hand and shoots at Incognito's head. But Incognito makes his own head disappear like he's a cartoon character. Well, which I guess he is. Alucard is beheaded once again, and this time, he isn't regenerating. At least, not right away. As Integra's helicopter approaches the tower, the English military starts trying to shoot it down. Walter uses his wires to lower Integra onto the ground in front of the tower, and he stays behind as the chopper goes down. I'm not sure what her plan was, but literally 5 seconds later, Integra is being used as a human sacrifice in a ritual Incognito is performing. He's attempting to summon a demon named Set into the world to destroy it. Set has been his master all along. All around the Tower of London, blue flames emerge from the earth and start to destroy the city. Inside, Integra says aloud that she grants Alucard permission to use his full power. All the blood from every corpse in the tower flows together and revives Alucard. As Incognito is absorbing the demonic power of Set, Alucard arrives to face him one last time. Their battle creates waves of energy that topple historic monuments and shake the skies. Cerys gets back up and goes to save Integra, and the two watch the final showdown together. Alucard and Incognito crash into a church and charge at each other once more. Incognito says that human-made bullets could never stop him, but Alucard has something else. A solid silver spear he formed out of a melted cross. Alucard impales Incognito through his entire body, and Incognito demands to know who Alucard really is. In a flash of lightning, Alucard's true identity is shown to be himself, but with a mustache. AKA Dracula. Mind blown. After that final battle, the rest of the story is wrapped up way too quickly. Text on screen tells us that the traitor within the Round Table was found and punished, and that they still have no idea who was producing the freak chips. Even after saving the entire country, Integra is still arrested for her role in everything for some reason. Alucard appears in her cell and asks if she wants to become a vampire, and Integra just smiles. So, that was the entire story of Hellsing. No wonder they felt like they had to redo it. That ending makes no sense at all. Anyways, click on one of these links to check out another one of my videos if you'd like, and in the meantime, peace!